Hey guys, hope you all are doing good. In today's tutorial, let's learn watercolor layering to make skin tones. I shall be using this Dome's watercolor tubes, a 12 shade pack and some different size of brush, and you can find the links of these products down in the description box below. So let's start with two very basic shades, burnt sienna and yellow ochre. And I'm using the carmine to the mixture as an undertone. So you start by mixing the brown and the yellow ochre in equal quantity and use little bit of the carmine as an undertone, which will create this reddish type of undertone or the reddish glow to the overall skin tone. Also guys, for the paper here I am using 300 GSM cold pressed watercolor papers, which is very good for your watercolor works. So guys, start with the first layer as a very diluted wash and keep on increasing the saturation of the shade, and to blend your colors you can use the same brush, dip it in water and use a tissue paper to dab the excess water and use the brush to run over your paint, so this will blur out the shade and create a smooth blend. Alright, so for the second fashion figure, I'm using a different mixture. Here I'm increasing the amount of the yellow ochre and decreasing the amount of the burnt sienna. So you can see it is more yellowish, and the color you can always change the proportions between the mixtures and create different saturations and different types of your skin tone range. So next, moving to the first figure again, I am using the blue here as an undertone. Again, when you are using blue, you are making the shade more darker, and it also creates a cool undertone to your overall shade. So here you can see I'm mixing the blue and how it changes to a darker version of the brown. So in this case, you can avoid black, mixing the black directly to your shade, and use shades like blue, violet, and sometimes green also as an undertone to your existing color, and see how it will just make a darker version of your original color, and you can use it to increase the saturation and increase the shade and play with the detailing of your fashion figure. Here again I'm using the blending technique. Firstly, I'm outlining near the edges with this darker version of the skin tone. Then I am cleaning my brush in water. I'm dipping my brush in water and using a tissue paper to dab and remove excess water from the brush, and using that wet brush to slightly blur out the shade. Now guys, here I'm working with a single brush only. You can also use a different brush to blur out the shade. So use the first brush to simply outline, and use a different brush with little amount of water and use it to blur out your paint. So this process of increasing the shade of your watercolor mix and blending your colors together can go on. You can create as many layers as you want, for which your watercolor paper is important. The paper should be thick enough to sustain so many layers. Your brushes, if your brush is not good enough to blend your color, so you can have little patches. And also sometimes the watercolor quality, which should be good enough that they are spreading well and blurring out and blending together really well. So this few criteria to get a good blend in your watercolor works. Alright, moving to the second figure, here we have given more dominance to the yellow ochre shade. So similarly for its second layer, the yellow ochre is in more quantity, and little bit of the burnt sienna and little bit of the cobalt again for creating a undertone, that is blue undertone, cool undertone, or a darker version of that shade. So the next process is again same. Start with outlining from the edge and then blending it. Now moving to the detailing part, I'm using this very minute detailing brush to create the outlining, creating the shadows, and also creating the blush effect. In this case, you can also use a different medium like pencil colors. Sometimes I like to blend both of my different mediums together, creating a mixed media work. But in this particular one, I'm trying to experiment more with the watercolors. So I'm using this different shades like on the sunglass. First I started with the burnt sienna, then I'm using the little black to do the outlining, and for the hair portion also we started with a black wash, and then I'm adding more details with this fine liner. Lastly, using this metallic jelly roll shade and a fine liner to create the final detailing on the sunglass. And here is the finished look. Let me know how you enjoyed the overall tutorial. I shall be posting part 2 of this series very soon, where we shall draw the garment detailing again with watercolor technique. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. See you all very soon. Till then, keep illustrating. Take care. Bye bye.